Welcome to this explainer. Look, organizations today are facing incredibly complex decisions involving environmental risks, heavily limited resources, and constantly competing priorities. It is a massive, high-stakes balancing act to actually build a sustainable and resilient future.
And honestly, making the right decision, well, that's just no longer enough. It absolutely must also be transparent, objective, and entirely defensible. You can't just go with your gut feeling anymore.
To really wrap our heads around why this matters so much, let's ground this in a real-world scenario. Imagine an environmental agency, right? And they have the budget for exactly one new air quality monitoring station. Just one. So where does it go? Does it go downtown in the commercial hub, out by the Shah Alam industrial perimeter, or maybe the Cheras suburban valley? Suddenly, these decision makers are hit with a full-blown crisis. They've got to balance pollution exposure, population vulnerability, infrastructure risks, all while juggling the subjective opinions of multiple stakeholders fighting for those limited resources. Without a clear system, justifying that final choice is practically impossible.
Which brilliantly illustrates why we desperately need a better method. Decide AHP literally replaces all that subjective guesswork with what's called the analytical hierarchy process, or AHP for short. Basically, it's a structured technique rooted in both heavy mathematics and human psychology. It takes a massive, overwhelming decision and breaks it all the way down to determine the relative importance of every single factor. It's this scientifically validated engine that makes your choices fully evidence-based, rather than just relying on, whoever argues the loudest in the boardroom.
The platform actually pulls this off through 4 incredibly clear, structured phases. You've got your goal setup, comparing criteria, evaluating options, and finally your prioritization output. Now, to really show off how wildly flexible this tool is, let's actually step away from our air quality example for just a second and see how Decide AHP handles a totally different crisis, like a landslide hazard assessment. Step 1, the setup process, is just incredibly clean. Right at the top, you formulate your main goal, which in this case is evaluating landslide risk vulnerability zones. Then, you dynamically map out your specific criteria. We're talking things like slope angle, soil moisture index, recent rainfall intensity, and vegetation cover density. After that, you define the actual alternatives you're evaluating, say a hillside settlement block, a valley drainage perimeter, and a northern highway fault zone. Boom, you visually frame the entire mathematical model in just seconds. Okay, so once that model is built, you jump into step 2. This is where the psychology really meets the math. Because, let's face it, not all criteria are equally important, right? The interface uses a standard preference spectrum that ranges from a 1, meaning equal importance, all the way up to a 9, meaning extreme importance. It literally forces the experts to systematically compare priorities. So if you're comparing slope angle directly against vegetation cover density, you just drag the slider to the side you favor. This intelligent weighting completely strips away those broad, unverified assumptions from your planning process. Moving right along to step 3, we evaluate the options per vector. We have our weighted criteria, so now we score our actual target sites. Each specific alternative, like that hillside settlement block or the valley drainage perimeter, gets a very precise rating against the exact criteria we just set up. You just use this quick 1 to 10 scoring system to rate the risk profile directly, where a higher score means greater urgency. It is highly detailed, but honestly incredibly user-friendly. It gives you this bright green, consistent status with a ratio of 0.00% right on the dashboard. That is Decide AHP's automated quality assurance in action. The platform is continuously monitoring your human logic in real time. If your evaluations start contradicting each other and happen to cross that 10% threshold, it throws a warning. That gives you the chance to go back and refine your logic before any results are finalized. It actively prevents mathematically flawed decisions from ever happening.
So let's bring this all back full circle to our initial dilemma. Remember that environmental agency trying to place just one single air quality monitor? After running their potential locations through this exact scientific process, the system synthesized all those messy, conflicting environmental and social indicators. And the result? It crowned the Shah Alam industrial perimeter as the clear, absolutely defensible winner, with exactly a 50.6% priority score, confidently beating out both the downtown and Cheras locations.
And the real magic is in how it presents that final result. The Step 4 prioritization output doesn't just spit out a winning name and call it a day. It generates a weighted priorities chart, a criteria synthesis allocation, and a full validity report. It transparently explains exactly how each specific criterion contributed to the final outcome. You could literally walk into any boardroom or public town hall and show them, step by step, the hard scientific evidence of exactly why that decision was made.
Zooming out for a second, the implications here are massive.
one platform, multiple domains, unlimited applications. Because the system is entirely dynamic, you don't need to buy different software for different problems. You can instantly adapt this exact same underlying mathematical engine for flood early warnings, infrastructure planning, disaster management, you name it. It is a truly reusable, evidence-based framework for practically any complex scenario you can think of.
Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this changes the way you approach your next big decision.